Welcome to Conversations with Leaders. My name is Miriam McLemore, and I'm an Enterprise Strategist with AWS. I am thrilled today to be joined by Dr. Tarika Barrett, who is the CEO of Girls Who Code. Tarika, welcome to our program.
Miriam, thank you so much for having me.
I am just thrilled personally to have the opportunity to speak with you today. Can you tell us a little bit about your role and Girls Who Code?
I'll start by saying there's nothing like growing up in another country to shape, who you are and your worldview. And I am the proud daughter of Jamaican immigrants, spending my time between Kingston, Jamaica and Brooklyn, New York. And, how I see the world and understand issues of race, class, equity, are all shaped by that upbringing. And I also had a mom who instilled in me the power of mentorship and the importance of fighting for equity and making change. And so all of that, was the foundation that then, shaped this journey that I took into the education space. And, later I came to understand that focusing on issues of equity, both in terms of race and gender, would be my life's work. I had the good fortune of leading the team that designed and launched New York City's first ever high school focused on software engineering, where issues of equity were central. And, fast forward, all of those experiences have rolled up into this moment where I'm now CEO of Girls Who Code, one of the largest girls organizations on the planet. And I'm so reflective and humbled in this moment because I also understand the context that I'm sitting in. I am a Black woman who's a CEO, when we are at a time where, centuries of historical discrimination and racism have kept women of color and Black women in particular, fighting for some small slice of the leadership pie. And I'm so proud of Girls Who Code that we thought about leadership transition in a completely different way and turned all that outdated thinking on its head. And so now here I am, ready to pay it forward and uplift other girls and women, especially Black and brown girls and women of color, so that they can step into their own agency and leadership.
Is there, things you can share about the global presence of Girls Who Code?
So Girls Who Code is an international nonprofit committed to closing the gender gap in entry-level tech jobs by 2030. And we're doing it by building this movement that educates and inspires and equips young women with, computing skills to take on the 21st century jobs and opportunities. Girls Who Code is extremely nimble. We think about ways in which we can meet the needs of our students. And so we continue to think about what that's going to look on the international stage. And as you know, part of what's so daunting right now is that we're still grappling with the effects of, the health crisis. And so we remain very committed, but are thinking through how we can continue to support our students globally.
Tarika, I love that, having spent now over 35 years in technology and in a variety of leadership roles throughout my career, and raising a daughter as well. It's wonderful to have organizations like Girls Who Code to really drive the STEM focus and investment in women and people of color. Could you, talk to us a little bit about addressing the gender gap in the world of science and technology and your focus?
By failing to address the growing gender gap in tech, we're basically failing to prepare our girls for the jobs of the future. Not only that, we're denying them the quality of life and the upward mobility that a career in tech can provide. When we look at the data, careers in tech are among the fastest growing in our economy. We're predicting right now that we're going to see 500,000 new tech jobs by 2029. And let's be clear, these are jobs that absolutely pay. The median wage in tech is double that of the national median wage. So, for our young women, and especially our young men of color, they stand to gain so much by pursuing a career in tech. From before the age of 10, they've been inundated with these cultural touchstones about who a computer programmer should look like and what they do, and they internalize these cultural beliefs, and they stick with them from elementary school to middle school, high school, college, and even into the workforce. And when, our young women actually get there, they're not seeing the role models. We know that 50% of women leave the tech industry by the age of 35, which is absolutely brutal. And, the implications are really far reaching, and we see it in the news every day.
Tarika, thank you for that. The challenge of solving the gender and diversity gap is certainly something that's been in front of me for my entire career. And so I love having organizations like Girls Who Code who are helping companies really bring the conversation forward. What is the advice that you are giving to leaders of organizations in addressing the challenge?
What we're asking companies to do is to look inward and to ask themselves about things like, credentialing, hiring practices, promotion practices, what they're doing at their individual companies to promote diversity in tech, both gender diversity, but also racial diversity. These are not, easy questions, and no two companies are alike. But until we're able to interrogate these long-held practices that narrowly assess academic credentials and are based on a very elitist perspective and a very privileged one, we won't be able to move the needle until we change that. Because when we think about an organization like Girls Who Code, half of the women that we serve are from historically underrepresented groups. We're talking about students who are Black, Latina, and low income. And, these girls are ready to learn, excited, but don't always have the opportunity. And so they participate in our programming, and we fully appreciate that they're doing that while juggling caregiving responsibilities, while taking care of siblings, working a job. And so their academic profiles look different sometimes than what these tech companies traditionally value and then hire for. But let's be honest, it's absolutely self-defeating. I shared that tech jobs are among the fastest growing in our economy. They're going to grow by 11%, 500,000 new jobs. So when you think about it, these companies are best served to think about the bravery and resilience that these young women in particular manifest, because that's what they actually want to bring to their tech companies. And so we can't afford to leave a single ounce of tech talent on the proverbial table.
Tarika, can you tell me a little bit more about the qualifications? You mentioned, GPA or number of years experience. Can you make that a little more practical for some of these leaders that are thinking, I think our job descriptions are okay, or we think we have the right criteria, but they need to really dive in, I think, and get specific here. Is that right?
Miriam, that's exactly right when we talk about how narrow the way that we think about, academic success is when we obsess around academic credentials. And, having gone to a city university undergrad myself, which is predominantly working class students, I understood what it meant to have a part-time job and also pursue my academic studies. Most of the students that were there with me never graduated in 4 years. And I think that when you look at some of the most sort of elite tech companies, they are looking for a particular profile that excludes so many young women and young women of color who've been historically underrepresented. Sometimes we, kind of talk amongst ourselves at Girls Who Code and say, what would it mean to have a credential around bravery? What would it look like to have a credential around resilience? And we even had a really candid conversation with a partner about GPA, because remember, these are still things, number of courses taken, extracurricular activities, GPA, time to graduate, that folks use to say that things are equitable. When in fact, when we understand institutional racism and discrimination, it's anything but equitable. And so part of what we're asking leaders to do is sit down with their recruitment teams and say, what have we asked for in the past? How do we level the playing field? Even something that might seem so unbiased, like a technical interview. Who has the social capital or connection to find out what happens in a technical interview? Who's already connected to the folks who have had that experience? We have to keep remembering that if you're marginalized, you don't readily have access to so many things that other folks who have had tutoring, have had extra support, have family members who are already in industry, that they have. So I think we really have to kind of pull it all apart and inspect every part of that recruitment process and look at credentials in a completely different way.
Yeah, I think that is so important to get companies just looking at their own practice, because a lot of it is unrecognized bias that is in some of the systems that you've come accustomed to, I think, over the years and over time. Tarika, you were sharing with us about, the clubs, the Girls Who Code clubs. What type of learning is going on there? What type of technology are the girls being exposed to? Can you share a little bit more about that?
So Girls Who Code clubs are magical places. They happen in the after-school space, and girls come together. I can think fondly pre-COVID to, my club's visits, where it would be so much fun to walk into a room, sometimes with 25 girls all around computers, helping each other to learn how to code. And one of the things that really shifted for us as an organization is that we revamped our curriculum and really improved it so that really our facilitators learn alongside the girls, which is a breakthrough, meaning that anyone can lead one of our clubs. And our girls come together, sometimes it's weekly, bi-weekly, and they engage with content like Python, CSS, JavaScript, HTML. And so they're learning about coding, but they're also learning about women in tech, because we have these spotlights so that they can actually, see these women doing this work. Because we always say at Girls Who Code, you can't be what you cannot see. And we're always dismantling these cultural stereotypes that have compelled so many girls to not pursue tech. And, the other thing that has been central to the experience is what we called an impact project. And so the girls huddle together, and they often do the very same things that, folks in tech industry do. They have a problem. They see a problem in their community, in their lives, and they say, how do we solve this using technology? And part of what they do is that they meet week after week, and then it culminates in a project. It could be a website that, talks about getting lead out of the water. It could be something else, like the lack of black hair care products. It could be an app. Like once we had students create an app that really dispelled all the taboos around menstruation. Like there's so many cool things that our girls tackle that they see in front of them that they know they want to make a difference around. And so that's at the heart of a Girls Who Code club. And they start in as early as 3rd grade and go all the way to 12th grade. Having
all my career worked in an international role, I do love the fact that you're not just reaching the U.S., but you have the ability to reach a wider audience, because that level of cultural diversity and experience, I think, is very valuable for companies, especially large multinationals who need to, think very much beyond our own borders. Tarika, thank you so much for your time and your work at Girls Who Code. We are just so impressed with what you are doing and excited to be a partner with you on this journey.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And if I can make one final plug, Girls Who Code has over 90,000 college-age and workforce-age young women ready to take on the internships and jobs. It's actually 3 times the number of women who graduated with a CS degree in 2019. I encourage your leaders, as they listen to this talk, to think about hiring them. They are amazing. They will change your companies. And they're going to change the world. So again, thank you for giving me this platform.
And thank you. You heard it. Get out there and hire some of these women. They will change your company. Thank you, Tarika.
Thank you so much, Miriam.